Hello you, welcome to Geekism. Pinewood Hills is starting to take shape now. We're working today on a slightly larger build, although it's still quite a small build. The whole park is going to be small builds, to be honest with you. That's the kind of thing we're going for, but this is a slightly larger small build, so as you see, you get a full time lapse today. It's going to be me chatting over the footage. We'll do a little bit of real time at the end there, just so we can have a good dive into what we're building here. So what we are building today is part of the main entrance. I don't want to say the main entrance. What I'm trying to do here is really make it realistic, and a lot of real parks. They have multiple sort of stages to the entrance. There are ticket booths, there are the actual entrance, the gates. There's maybe a monorail or a train there or something, a door, and then you actually get through. So this will have originally have been the entrance. This will have been where you walk up to, you buy your ticket from these windows here, and you go on in. But what the idea in my head is that the park has kind of grown out of this building. This building is too small now to handle the amount of people coming through this park over the years. So this building is still there, but it's there as like a legacy building, I guess. So there's information about the tickets on it, and either side is the actual ticket gates. But what you'll actually do is now purchase the tickets from a newer building that's going to be closer to the road that we will build in the next episode, or a couple of episodes time at least. So this is like the original entrance that's now just there as a piece of architecture and a piece of legacy building. It is based quite closely on a building that is the entrance to an amusement park in the States, which is called Seabreeze Amusement Park. It's not a park I'm familiar with, but I was looking at images and I found it, and it sort of fit exactly the sort of thing I was looking for. This slightly well-designed but still quite plain entrance that you would find in these classic smaller parks. So Seabreeze Amusement Park, it is in the States. It's actually on the border. It's on the edge of Lake Ontario, but it's on the state side of it as well, and it's exactly the sort of thing that we're going to be building here. I'm not building a replica of it, but I'm definitely going to be using some reference pictures from it, as well as lots of other parks with a similar sort of age and style and size. Seabreeze Amusement Park actually opened back in 1879, and it has the fourth oldest currently operating roller coaster in the world, which is a classic there and back Woody, which is again something we're definitely going to be building in this park, because these parks often will have opened with a carousel, a couple of other flat rides, an actual nice park itself to look around, usually, especially in the UK, and then they'll have spent their money on a wooden coaster, and that will have been what started them off. So that's what we're going to be doing here. And it seems to be that's what happened with this one, Seabreeze Amusement Park. The coaster's still running. It's called Jackrabbit. It's fantastic. If you've been on it, in the comments, let me know what it's like. It's not going to be a million miles away from me eventually, that one, so I should hopefully be able to go there. It should be quite cool. Still running today, the park is, and it's doing pretty well apparently. It's open from May until September. Has 35 total rides and 4 roller coasters. That's pretty cool. Can you tell I'm reading Wikipedia? Yeah, you can, can't you? Anyway, let's have a look at this building. This is an important point here. Something we might struggle with in this park, but something I'm enjoying the challenge of, is scale. It's well known, it's well documented. I've mentioned it, loads of other creators have mentioned it as well. The scale in Planet Coaster is huge. Basically, the buildings and sizes of stuff are really, really big compared to Peeps. And while it's usually okay if you're building a huge sort of well-themed park, which, let's be honest, the game's kind of built for, but if you're going for this more sort of realistic, subdued family park, it is trickier to find the right size and shape for stuff. So you'll see here I'm using a lot of the backs of windows to create wall pieces here that are on a much smaller scale. I've got I forget the name of them, that sort of turret type piece there, because the building that I was designing from has one of those in the middle, but the one in game is nice, really well designed, but it's too big, so we have to actually build our own one here. So rather than arches, we actually have these windows. Again, looking at roof pieces here, they're just too big. We have to go in and custom build one, but I'm actually really enjoying the custom build one. It's really sort of stretching the creative muscles a bit, and we're able to use these little cornice pieces here to kind of fill that out. Even still, these are a little big. These could, we could do with these being very slightly smaller. There is actually other smaller ones, but I wanted to try and keep the same pieces that we'd used in the other parts of the roof. And actually, I think it works out quite nicely, even if it is maybe a little chunky, I guess, for want of a better word. But I'm quite happy with how it's turned out. You'll just see me moving those around there. Like I say, once it's all done, for some reason I realise I've got 2 of everything here, so I just have to quickly run around and delete 1 of everything. I've obviously duplicated the building without realising. So we'll go down there and sort that out, and then we can go back in and finish off this roof. So yeah, like I said, this is a single building that now would house some sort of guest services, maybe a security depot, something like that, you know, a space for security or staff to get about. But originally that would have been your ticket offices. I see this a lot in smaller parks that I visit, where the original ticket unit has sort of been closed or repurposed, and then they've built larger ones that can handle more footfall. Again, there, look, we try to use that spire on top of the building. It's just huge. It's just too big. So we go to build our own using some icing pieces, some of the baubles and things like that. It's all classic stuff. I think I saw Silver at first use this sort of stuff to make towers. And I'm still getting to grips with the pieces you can get away with and which ones you can use. Colour is silver there. I don't think it looks quite right, so we end up changing it to gold. I think it works better as a gold. It takes a little while to get the right sort of shades on all the parts, because even though you're using the same colour, because the texture of the parts is different, it's sometimes a little bit trickier to get them all matching. But I think that turns out pretty quite nice. There you go. That's a way of summing up this episode. It's pretty quite nice. Adding on a bit of base work there to the pillar so we can chuck it up. And I quite quickly realised that even though I built that as about as small as it can go, it's still huge. Basically, it's still not necessarily huge, it's about the right size, but the whole building looks a little bit top heavy. Now obviously this isn't going to be the only building. There is going to be buildings coming off of this, archways where people actually walk through with their tickets, but even still it looks a little bit top heavy. So we go back and edit that in a moment. First of all, just doing a little bit of detailing here so it fits the roof. I'm actually asking the wife here what she thinks, and she's like, yeah, it looks too big. So we get that up out of the way. We actually raised the building just a little. This building is now 6 meters high. Any more than that, I feel like it really starts to get a bit too much, a bit too high. But you know, for this one-off building, I feel like it's okay. But much higher than this, it would start to look a little bit out of scale. So we add on some nice bits of wood there at the bottom, bit of detailing. Actually, quite like the fact that it's given us the opportunity to add these in. Really. I think it works out quite nicely, and again, when we add the archways in later on, they actually flow through quite well. At the back of the building, this is a bit of a what's the words? It's not staying. I can't think of that. I've got really bad with my words today. It's not staying, it'll be edited. It's just a placeholder. There we go. Placeholder's the word I was trying to think of. So here, what we do, it still didn't quite look right. So what I wanted to do is go in and actually stretch the whole thing out a little bit and make the building fatter, for want of a better word. And I actually think it turns out really quite nicely, and it also gives us a chance to do a little bit more detailing, layer the details. I always think that's really important, and also something that Silverette talked about in I think it's Jägerhorn. I can't remember which series it was. I think it was Jägerhorn, where that if you do a whole building that's detailed, then none of it's detailed. Whereas if you do areas of detailing in a building, it works out a lot better. So that's what we're doing here. We've got a lot of sort of plain walls. The walls themselves are actually relatively plain, but we can get a little bit of detail up onto the roof here now, and it sort of draws the eye up, and I actually think it turns out really quite nice. Having to adjust the bits of detail we've done there now, because we have a little flat area. And again, we're going to be using these windows, the backs of them, to be able to create a small roof piece that you just wouldn't be able to do with the roof pieces in game. They're literally just too big. And carrying on, I think I actually turn them back around again in a little while. I tried to get away from the same piece, but I think they actually turn out better the right way up. Yeah, there we go. And then using a little piece of this fence here for a bit of detailing. It's cute, it's pretty, it's very classic of sort of, you know, simple part design. I think it turns out really quite nicely. And then I'm really trying to get on top of the infrastructure and the detail and things like that. So we go in here and we place a vent up on the top as well, using a couple of the sci-fi pieces. It's a little bit long, so we have to do a little bit of editing there to make it sort of fit right, rather than just clipping into the area there. And again, look at that pipe, it's huge. Instead we use snowman pipes to get a little bit of piping. It's also the aircon unit, but I thought, you know what, that custom bit is probably okay. So I'm just sort of admiring my handiwork here, I think, and then what we're going to do is take most of this and repurpose it. That's the other thing I'm going to try and do in this series, to kind of keep it moving and to keep stuff flowing, and also to keep the design flowing through the park as well, is repurposing things and having a running theme. So we've done this already with the roof of the pavilion that we've used over to here. We're now taking most of this building and basically ripping it down to its bare bones to create a sort of gazebo space, which will be the space for having the tickets coming through. Going to pull it up a little to make it a little higher. I apologise for any little gaps like that where it just hovers for a second. It's most likely Xander crying or something like that. I've just had to go and check out if he's okay. He's doing great, by the way, but sometimes he gets a bit grumpy if he's hungry or whatever. So occasionally there'll be a little hole there where I just go and figure something out. So here I'm trying to figure out how to tie this into the main building. I realise that what I'm going to have to do is actually take that off and just have the roof go right up to it. It seems to be the easiest way to do it. So we'll just quickly sort of copy and paste all that over. Again, there's another great way with using modular pieces like this. You can pretty easily repurpose what you've made and sort of get them to sort of stretch out or copy over or whatever really quite easily. So although it's a bit of work in the first place, it ends up that these sort of secondary buildings here can be actually turned around really quite quickly. There you go, we can drop that in there and it looks pretty good, I think. And there we go, we've got our entrance building. So like I said, originally this would have been it basically, but what we're going to be doing is building around it, and sort of over the years you can see where the infrastructure has been increased to cope with the higher footfall of a park with more coasters and more rides and things like that as it's developed, but still you have to walk through here to get in. So we are actually using the actual in-game gates here. I may end up moving those out and building my own and just having these somewhere else hidden, because I'm not a massive fan of the look of them, to be honest. They're okay, but they stick out a little bit like a sore thumb here, I think, so I may end up going back. Here we're using a bit of scaffolding here. The idea of this is a security table, a security staff table where they would come and check bags and things like that. So we haven't really got any bags, so you'll find the odd crate and suitcase just to kind of give the idea of what I want there. And then here, spaces on the left and right. I find it very important this park, it's not going to be perfect. There's going to be bits of stuff hanging around. There's going to be, like the odd trolley or things that staff need to get hold of and things like that. So here we create a safety cone, drop a few of those down, that they're ready to for the staff to pull out and cone off gates if we want to make it a bit quieter or a bit busier. Trolley trucks and things like that. This park, it doesn't have a problem with the sort of behind the scenes seeping out, I guess, that something like a Disney park would. In Disney you'll struggle to find a speaker, you'll struggle to find a member of staff that doesn't have a smile on their face. You'll never see Mickey Mouse walking back and pulling his head off and going for a smoke. But here it's a little bit rough around the edges, and it makes it a lot more fun to build actually. So here we've just got a little roped off area that staff can come in and get to. Again, this back, it needs to be finished. We'll just keep working on it as we work into the park. But here we put some luggage down as if it's lost luggage, but it's a bit big really. But we haven't really got anything else we can use, I don't think. So we're working out where that's going to go in place, placing the roof back on it, and there we go. So now we start working on the actual entrance pavilion, entrance plaza, I guess. And I wanted a small water feature, nothing fancy, literally just a pond basically with a few fountains in it. Because this park, even though it's going to be simple, it's going to have a bit of money. It's going to have tidied itself up over the years. So really, that's what I'm going to do here. And the other thing I really wanted to do was to not just cover the path with floor pieces like we have been doing in the past. I want to try and actually use the paths as they are in the game. Now obviously you really struggle to get them nice and neat around the water like this, so I think I came up with quite a decent method for fixing that, which you'll see in a moment. First of all, we're going to add some retainer walls around this bit of water here. Can't get the water any higher than that, unfortunately. It would have been nice a little bit higher, I think, but I actually think it works out quite nicely. We're going to cut now to some live footage, because that's where the recorded footage ended. So we'll cut some live stuff and we'll have a look what it looks like. Okay, so here's how it's looking once we've finished off the pool area here. So like I was saying about the path, I feel like I've come up with a relatively solid way of tying in these areas with the regular path. So everything you see people walking on at the moment is actual path, but I wanted it all to be one big area. So all this is path here, but then under here we've actually got lots of mess. So let's just quickly show you what that looks like. like that, you see. So this sort of sits over. All these are just concrete pieces, but they fit relatively well, apart from there's a bit of an edge to them. I thought rather than just leave that edge there and have it look a bit random, we cap it off with some sort of bumpers and sort of safety metal bars, so that people won't hurt themselves as they walk over. In here I've just placed a few really simple fountains. Probably come back and have another go at this, make it a little bit more interesting. Maybe tie it to a little display sequencer and set them going off at random times and things like that. But I don't want it to be any much more than that, because this is, like I say, it's all relatively simple and subdued. The other thing I've done there is filled in these screens. I put some ribbon here, flags here, just added a little bit of colour, and also we lit up the edges of the building like we have elsewhere. I love this. This is going to be everywhere. So here we've got a little Pinewood Hills logo. Once I've got some footage of the park, I'll probably make a little video that sits there and just loops around showing clips of coasters and things like that. Here we've got a ticket sign. We'll probably use this a few other places as well, but for now, Tibeles, that's Planconian for tickets. In the last video I did it's actually moved, I'll show you why in a moment, but I did the fire assembly points here. Vuruteran Riton is fire. It's actually fire meeting point. We don't have a word for assembly in Planco yet. Anyway, I'm talking to James Stamps about getting that sorted. So yeah, but my idea was it was actually Nicola who came up with the idea, because she said I made the sign that said tickets, and she said, "Oh, I thought you were using the in-game language." And I said, well, I was going to, but like certain things I want people to be able to read and know what it means. And she said, well, why don't that have both, like it's Welsh or something? So for those outside of Britain, Wales has its own language, it has Welsh, but not many people speak it. You get it still written in a lot of places, so most signs come like this, and they have both things written on them. And it happens a lot in other places as well, like Disneyland Paris, for instance. It's obviously French, but, it has English there for the most part, so people can speak English and know what's going on. So that's what we're going to do. For some signs, they'll just be in Planconian, like security signs and things like that. Signs where like it's not specific to the park, so like signs where like this one, I don't want to show you something over there, that's why I'm coming around funny. Like this one, that's just a purchase sign, you know what I mean? That's a standard sign, that is. So that would be in Planconian. But then things that the park has decided to design will have in English as well. This is just for titles. Everything else will probably just be English. Or for instance here we've just got some Lorem Ipsum down here as well. So let me know what you think of prices. I mean, I know at the moment there's nothing inside, but based on what you think the park's going to look like, I've gone for £25 for an adult ticket, £12 for a child, £15 for concessions, that's for OAPs and things like that. A family ticket, which is 2 adults and 2 children, is £65. That saves you £9. I didn't think that was too bad. And then if you're an annual pass holder, that costs you £5 to get in. If you're coming back for more, save over £200 with Pinewood Hills annual pass. Who knows what price the annual pass is. How I've worked that out, I don't know. I just thought it sounded right and looked good. So I'm kind of happy with how that's worked out. Like I say, we're getting a little bit of creep in there when we move across screens. That's interesting. A little bit of funkiness going on. Anyway, we'll use these elsewhere as well. So like I say, these you can't buy tickets from here anymore. What we'll actually do is we're going to have some ticket booths on either side here where people actually get their tickets from. And also there'll be a few other things going on here. The next video is going to be completely as live. I'm going to build a couple of small things that I want to build here that we'll use elsewhere in the park as well. And I reckon it's going to take me about 25 minutes to build it, so we're going to build it as live and see how we get on. Last thing I wanted to show you, I had a really weird thing. The path actually runs under here, and this is pathing, and this is pathing under here, and all this is path. This is using the asphalt path that came with 1.3, I think. For some reason, at some point, the path disappeared here, and it instead came round here, and it made it a bit funky, and it made people start walking around here like this. And I could not get the path to go back again without deleting all this, and it was just absolute a nightmare. So I thought, well, tell you what, rather than ignore it, we'll make a thing. They're doing it here as well, look, annoyingly, just because of how the path meets. Like, there's no path there, but they just cut across path, unfortunately. We'll try using that barrel planter to fix it. But here, I thought there's no way I'm going to be able to fix this, so I thought instead we'll make it so that they have to walk around it. So we've actually cordoned the area off. Folks, calm down. somebody has knocked a bin over. Somebody has knocked a bin over, so security has come out. I just thought it was a little bit silly. A hazard tape would be great, but we've got rope instead, and we've used our cones to kind of cordon off the area. Now, the only thing I might have to have a little play with is I've used an entertainment point hidden in these rocks to get the security guy to stand here, although it does mean that once people have entered the park, they're coming over to have a look at this entertainment point and they're wandering back. Now, I'm hoping once we've got actual stuff in the park for them to see, they won't bother doing this, because at the moment it's a little bit weird. They come over here, look, they walk and they walk back again. So hopefully once there's stuff going on in the park that will compete with this entertainment point, this one won't become much of a problem anymore. But yeah, that was just a way of getting them to have a reason for walking around here. I thought that was actually that was quite neat anyway, and it's little things like that I think are going to be fill this sort of this park with little bits of charm. So we've still got a bit to do here. Then we're going to have to do a bit of covering up here with some foliage, I think, or maybe just some concrete and stuff like that to fill up the paths at this end. Like I said in the time lapse, I may end up moving these to somewhere a bit more hidden and having these as proper turnstiles that we can design. I'm not sure, but like I say, yeah, ticket booths here and here. Car parks. Car park wise, what I want to do, sorry, I know I'm talking a lot, but I really want to go through the thought process with you guys. I've set up to have 2 car parks either side, main and overflow. What I'm thinking of actually doing is just making the main car park here and making it much bigger, and having this be a road that carries on up right up to there to something else I've got planned for the future, but we need to have a separate entrance, and you'll see why a little bit later on. But there we go. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like. It really does help out the channel. And if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries or suggestions, pop them down in the comments. And if you fancy chat, you can find me on Twitter. I'm at Jonty Sparrow. If you'd like to join in with the Geekism community, you can do so on our Discord server. You'll find the link in the description. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you in the next one.